Things are changing in Las Vegas. And on a brightly lit floor on a casino, the following conversation is overheard about the new baseball stadium. Hey, boss! I got a call here from our friends over there in the East Coast Baseball Syndicate. Says he's got a question for you. Yeah, he says he needs your advice. Yeah, okay, go ahead and connect him then.
Hello, Mr. Man.
Yeah.
My name's Elmer. I'm with the city of St. Petersburg, and I need your help.
Well, what can I do for you, my friend?
Well, we're trying to build a new stadium here, and I know you guys in Vegas seem to have that all figured out. How'd you get that Fisher fellow to go ahead and pay for all that stadium out there?
We're not bidding him pay all of it. You know, he's only got to pay about $1.5 billion.
Well, how'd you convince him to do that?
Yeah, we took him through with a few friendly persuasion classes, and he understood, who's gonna pay for what. You got that, Elma?
Yeah, I think I got that.
Well, I wish you luck there in St. Pete, my friend. Hey, and put a dome over that building, too, would you? Welcome to Baseball Biz on Deck. I am Mark Carbon, and with me, of course, is Mr. Matt Germain. Hey, Matt, how you doing today, buddy?
I am sponsored by the Golden at Bat.
But
Louisville could make us a golden bat, and the hitter would have to use that golden bat when he's at the plate.
Well, I absolutely love that. I mean, my gosh, if nothing else with Major League Baseball, there is such a great deal of entertainment value above and beyond the game itself. It's why I stay involved. Oh, gosh. Matt, that was the big bell ringer this last week at one of the big bell ringers at the winter meetings with all the managers gathering together there in Dallas, and the owners, and should say, I guess they're doing their little Texas Hold'em and trading player cards and players and owners and agents and seeing what comes out, the cards out there in the Texas Hold'em circus.
Right. Well, what I was told is this is what I thought happened, nowadays, because I've heard a lot of executives talk about, the wild, wild west that it was back when, and that, 10, 20, 30 years ago, everybody gravitated to the room that had the best food and had the most booze. And it was just a big, schmooze fest at that point, when you ended up in that whatever room had the best booze and the best food, and you maybe got a deal done or you didn't. But I didn't think people drank that much anymore. And obviously the commissioner got into something somewhere in the bar, because I don't know how you put that idea out there in public and really think of it seriously. I'm just baffled by it. Like, Mark, in all honesty, you have the Dodgers, who assigned the best player in baseball, right?
Yeah.
This rule specifically amplifies his value, and nobody else can match it. It's clear as day that this is all meant to help the large market teams and the big budget teams to have yet another edge over everybody else. And it is sickening, in all honesty.
Well, let's give a little detail to folks what this golden bat rule is. I mean, how does that play out? How does that actually look in a game?
So let's say that you're playing the game and it's the ninth inning, and you haven't used your golden at bat yet, and all of a sudden the first hitter gets on base, but the guy that should be at the plate is I don't know, Kike Hernandez, let's say. But you're not satisfied with Kike Hernandez. You want Shohei Ohtani to get that at bat. Well, guess what? Kike sits down, and you bring up Shohei Ohtani instead, and you get to make that call at the key moment in the game with the game on the line, and you get to say, you know what, you're a good player, Kike, but baseball's changed so much that your value is going to diminish now, and you're going to go off into la la lands. We're never going to let you get one of these moments ever again. Instead, we're going to give it to the superstar who's already raking in lots of money, and he's going to get all the opportunities now to drive in all those runs and all those big moments, and he's going to get all the glory while all the young guys are sitting on the bench. Like honestly, like you're it just there's so many things that are wrong with this. From the lack of opportunity for other players to prove themselves, from the amplifying the value of guys that other teams can't afford. Like there's just nothing good about this idea at all. I can't believe that he spoke it out in public, and some people are actually buying it. And all I
Oh,
can think is they must be fans of large market teams that are just saying, "Oh, I want another at bat of Aaron Judge, or I want another at bat of Shohei Ohtani." But everybody else in the league's going, "No, thank you."
yeah. I mean, I saw that, Matt. And honestly, the first thing I checked is this source from The Onion? Is is this some satirical thing? Is this a National Lampoon on April Fool's Day come early? Because this is insane, brother. It doesn't make any more sense. If you have people who love the tradition of the game and who felt a little offended by making the bases larger or putting a pitch clock out, this is such a big offense to any kind of tradition to the game. It's Savannah Banana Ball, man. Come on.
I mean, they're walking a very fine line in becoming a joke of a sport, to be quite honest. They do this kind of thing, they become a joke of a sport, where you're now in the line with the Savannah Bananas and the Globetrotters and that kind of ring stuff. You're no longer a viable league, in my opinion, and you're already getting closer to that anyway. So one of my pet peeves in baseball, right, and it drives me nuts. Okay, so if you throw a perfect 3-point shot in any NBA court, right, it's a 3-point shot,
Right.
right? If you take a wrist shot and you hit the corner of the nets are all the same size across the league, right? They're all the same size. End zone in football, your feet are inbounds. All the football fields are the same size. Baseball, you play in Yankee Stadium, you just have to loft it up into the wind in the right field, and you'll probably hit a home run. And you do that in another stadium, and you're going to be halfway to the warning track. So it drives me nuts that a baseball player can hit a ball as hard, with the same launch angle, the same exit velocity, and have a different result in every single park.
Yeah.
And there's got to be, especially with the technology we have now, to make it closer. I'm not saying to make it perfect. You're not going to be able to fix wind. You're not going to be able to, but it's just an example of where baseball should be going so that you have more, I shouldn't have to worry, for instance, about acquiring a player from Colorado because his away splits were terrible, or conversely, right, the opposite way, going the other way. If you're getting a pitcher, and I shouldn't have the Orioles changing the shape and size of their outfield and left field over and over every year. And every year they're taking a chunk out. It looks like Lego bricks are going up in there. Like, well, what's going on? Like, it's time for the Red Sox to purchase enough property to have a regular sized baseball field. There's just certain things that should happen in baseball instead of talking about a golden freaking at bat.
Jeez.
I
Oh,
don't know.
it's no, I think you do know. It's just insane. And you and I were talking a little bit earlier today too, with being on Blue Sky and the account Codify Baseball, which they're always great to read, folks. So it's codifybaseball.bsky.social. Anyway, they had to address the whole golden at bat rule idea, and they came up with a few of their own and invited other folks. Some of the things they had is, let's see, each team is required to select one fan from the crowd to play one inning in the field or take one at bat. I thought, oh, okay, that's interesting. But people came up with some really, really curious ones too. Pitchers must hit, but they are permitted to use aluminum bats. That was Dave now said that one. Let's see, man. We get this one's from Tig Heron. Every five strikeouts causes a team to lose one run.
Yeah. I have one for you, Mark. What
Sure.
about every team has to have two women on it?
I love that one, as you might well guess.
Hmm?
That would be fantastic. Here's one I think. I think owners have need to have a little more skin in the game, literally. Now, if you're the owner, your team's up, and your pitcher just hit a guy. Well, the next time your guys are up, you should be the leadoff batter there in the lineup. That's one of them. But let's see. Oh,
You know what I would like though, and I thought about this way back. This is like I was still blogging when I thought of this. But I always thought that if you want to grow the game and you want to get owners to take every single game seriously, the best way to do it is to have a penalty in terms of funding for every loss. So
ah,
if your team loses, you got to put 20 grand in the kitty. And at the end of the year, all that money goes towards growing the sport, towards all the minor league, affiliates and all the levels of young players, and it grows the game. But the money comes more weighted more heavily from the teams that lose the most games.
I like that, man. I mean, in any kind of business or sales organization, you incentivize people. You incentivize
Yeah.
the salespeople to reach certain goals and get payouts. You go ahead and you do the same with owners. I know when I was with the New York Times and some of the publishers, I wasn't seeing the sales at the lower level with some of the online. So I said, you know what we got to do? We got to incentivize the guys they work for.
Yeah.
And we came up with a plan. It's like, oh, well, magic, wasn't it? And suddenly things changed. Well, to penalize those people, I think that's just is as effective, if not more. So I love the idea of being penalized for losing. And gosh, what would you? I guess you'd have to sell the White Sox about mid-season through.
Jerry Reinsdorf would have just been pulling out any hair he has left halfway through the season.
Jeez, it is nuts.
Yeah.
But I love them, man. To see it. Yeah, there's just a lot of insanity out there. And the only thing when Manfred says stuff like this, it does deserve ridicule. So we're glad to deliver some of that back for you, Rob.
Yeah. To me, it's the competitive balance that it hurts the most. And like I said, the opportunity for other players, it's a team sport. There's nine hitters in that lineup for a reason, and four other ones on the bench, or three, depending on how they make up their roster. And all of them need to be valued, every single one. And the Rays may not be able to compete with the higher end guys, but they might have the most balanced lineup and bench overall, which is
True.
how really so if you're adding the incentive for the Dodgers to use Shohei Ohtani and give him, I don't know, how many games are there in a year? So 162, he's going to get the golden at bat in how many of those? 120. So you're going to give him 120 extra at bats and take those 120 at bats away from others in the most key situations. So let's say a young player like Gavin Lux would have had I don't know 68 RBI, and instead he's going to end up with 30. He's going to get 120 fewer at bats. So really, how high quality are all his at bats going to be
There you
aside from
go.
that?
There you
You're
go.
actually destroying young players' careers. Like I don't understand where this came from, and somebody should have smacked him on the back of the head and said, "Listen, this is just an atrocious idea. Don't speak it out loud, please." And there's a lot of smart baseball people who are supporting it, and I'm thinking, what are you thinking? Like what? I don't. I don't understand why we need to change the game. I love the game the way it is. They wanted to make the bases bigger. I swallowed my pride and took it and watched baseball last year, even though I hate the fact that they did it. And I do realize, like, I'm like, okay, they've changed the mound, they've put it up inches, they put it up back, they put it, things have changed in the game. So I'm not going to be that rigid. But when you're talking about robbing a player of 120 at bats and giving it to the best player in the league, like I have to put my foot down and say this is just not something that should be even considered.
Well, I know I'm looking at this and I got to wonder. What did somebody have those special mellow mushroom pizzas going around and put the wrong mushrooms on it? Because I cannot imagine the sanity that's involved. Well, I mean, there's enough of the news every day in the rest of the world. You're like, really, that makes absolutely no damn sense. But this is baseball, people. This is important stuff. Come on.
Right.
Oh Lord.
Um,
It's I don't know, brother. I really don't. I mean, we were talking before the show and mentioned a thing about a buddy of ours, Lou Schiff, who's a judge down in Miami. Also a great guy for a commentator and sharing history on Blue Sky. But he's retiring here, and with him retiring, I'm thinking, man, I'd like to find something he might enjoy more. And I thought, well, we've seen in the past where jurists have made their way into baseball. And I'm talking about as commissioners. How many people who have we known who've had either a law degree, been a lawyer, or a judge who's been the commissioner in the past?
yep.
And
It's either that or car salesman, right? That's
oh,
those are the two main sources.
oh gosh. Well, how much longer do you think we've got Rob Manfred in there as commissioner, Matt?
He said that he was staying in until 2030, I believe. I think that's the
Jeez.
timeline he gave himself. I don't know if that'll hold, and things change. I think he wants to see expansion through. And from what I've heard, expansion would be announced probably sometime next year. It takes about 2 years for all the bids to come in and everybody to promise as much money as possible and work out the interest-free loans that they're going to get from MLB and all this stuff. So by the time they get the stadiums built and everything squared away, it'll probably be 2030. So I think I don't know. Like his legacy is going to be what? Based on what we know today. Like what is his legacy other than watching the A's play in the minor league park and watching the
Jeez.
Rays play in the minor league park and watching the Blue Jays play in the minor league? Like what
I
What
I can't.
what is the biggest positive impact he's had on the game?
I cannot begin to come up with anything. I guess facing off against Scott Boras. No,
Hmm.
no, seriously, there's nothing about him that says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad he is the guy that we have here." Uh, would you say did he handle the whole Astros trash can thing? Okay, I mean, long before he was commissioner, he was a lawyer and handling a lot of different things in MLB prior to that. I think that I think it's time for him to retire. He doesn't need to stick around until we have a new Rays stadium built.
I thought he would have retired when he called it a piece of metal.
Oh gosh.
Like that just spoke to the amount of love he has for the game, and it shows in how he's handling the league, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Like there's just no love there. It's just basically, it's a sport. We'll play where we need to play. They'll get their piece of metal at the end of the year and we'll move on. This is the way that he's handled the league in general. There's some things that he's handled okay, but there's nothing that I would say, has heightened the value of the league to a substantial amount. That's all.
Well, as we look at what's going on with winter meetings right now, there's still a lot of folks talking. We'll talk a little bit about that. I know we had mentioned that Blake Snow had just signed with the Dodgers, and that's been cemented, I think, with the press conference yesterday. But if you look across what last year, he and others kind of held out to almost February or March before they were signing, which was insane, if you ask me. Let's see here. I was looking at the little historical note here from Wikipedia. At the 88 winter meetings in Atlanta, the Texas Rangers closed 3 trades involving 15 players and signed free agent pitcher Nolan Ryan. Now, that's a winter meeting, brother.
When you do a dynasty baseball draft and you get home and you look at your roster and you're like, oh, that's how it shaped out. Like you just like, I imagine at the end of that, they're like, well, who do we have again? Did we get that one? What about that one? Because back then as well, nothing was instantaneous. It took a while for the commissioners to, and the league to get back to you and get, things official. So yeah, winter meetings can be so much fun when they're good.
What was it? And Vec, you remember Vec?
Yep. Dude.
There is a story I heard once where he actually just set up a table like in a little restaurant or bar and put up a little sign said ready to deal. So come on, boys and girls, sit down with me and we'll chat.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Let's see one more story for you here too. Oh, might as well, since we're talking about the Dodgers. This one's from 2014. It says at the 2014 winter meetings in San Diego, the Los Angeles Dodgers concluded 6 transactions with 4 teams involving 19 players and a free agent.
When you're looking at a full roster, that's that's a lot of pieces moving.
So, what do you think? What do you think we're going to see that's going to be noteworthy for the future of this 2024 winter meetings?
Well, I don't know if it's going to hold out until the winter meetings actually start, to be honest. But I think Juan Soto is going to have signed, like after, if not before, then the first day of the winter meetings. I think he's going to be off the board. From what I've heard, all the bids are 600 millions and above for the teams that are still in it. I've heard that the East Coast teams have a significant edge over the West Coast teams so far. That could change. But and I've heard that, plans are being made for alternatives. So like in the Yankees case, as an example, is there's talk that they might go after Willie Adames and shift Jazz Chisholm over to second base and have either Volpe or Adames play third base, as an example. Now, obviously, it's not the same caliber, but they've got Jason Dominguez, to fill in left field. So I don't think they're hitting the panic button in terms of the Juan Soto thing. And I think they have so many irons in the fire on pitching side. I think you're going to see them sign Max Fried instead as well. I've heard they've already had 2 meetings with him, or are going to have the second meeting. I think you're going to see Pete Alonso go. I think it's going to be fairly active, and a lot of it, I think, is because some of the pitching has gone off the board with the Angels being aggressive. Yusei Kikuchi was a great signing for them. It actually establishes their pitching a little bit, and I think they're going to add one more. I don't know who it's going to be. It's hard for them to attract the top guy like Corbin Burns or something like that. But I think they're going to add one more, and they're going to try to make themselves into like you think of Ron Washington. He's basically an elite trainer for infielders. They're going after guys that are getting a lot of ground balls, and they're getting balls in play. Like so they're bringing in Kyle Hendricks as well, and I don't know. So because some of the pitching, and including Blake Snell, have gone already, I think you're going to see just a wave pool of pitching go all at the same time. So I think it's going to be a fairly active, like where you could look at the free agent class and say, okay, half of the top 50 that are remaining are going to go at the winter meetings. Something like that.
Well, I'm really curious to see this, especially when you're talking about Soto. I know, well, I think it was last week you talked possible potential even with the Brewers, which I would absolutely love to see him on a team like that.
Yeah, I think I posted something about the Rockies too. I'm like, I just want him to sign somewhere that proves once and for all that any team can get any player.
There you go.
And if that happens, I'll be really, really, really happy. Like, and you look at Jose Ramirez. Is he having a terrible career with the Guardians? He committed to them. He could have signed anywhere else for more money. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
His talent, he could have signed for probably double what he signed for the Guardians, but he was happy there. So I want to see more of that. I want to see stars, commit to smaller market teams, and not just because they're overpaying, but just because they're paying the right price, and they want to, play on a team that, yeah, let's say Juan Soto did sign with the Brewers, and let's say he helps them win their first World Series ever. How special is that?
Oh man.
If you go to the Dodgers and win another World Series, they're like, thanks for coming out, but we already had a bunch of these. So this just adds to our trophy case. We have another piece of metal in there, and We'll carry on. But if he wins it with the Brewers, I'm saying the impact for your legacy, it's sort of like what he did with the Nationals, right? You're always going to remember Juan Soto as a National
Yeah.
because he won that World Series there. And it was so meaningful because they had never done it before. So, not in modern history anyway. And so it's one of those things that I wish free agents, took into account more often. I'll give you another example. If Freddie Freeman had signed with the Rays instead of the Dodgers, right? Where would that season have taken them? Would they have gone deeper into the playoffs? The Rays would be a completely different franchise as a whole with Freddie Freeman aboard. But what are the Dodgers with Freeman? Yes, he won the World Series there, but it's not the same kind of impact because they just won one in 2020. They spent so much money to do it. There was Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
There was Mookie Betts. He wasn't really the one star. He was part of a group of stars. So yeah, I don't know. The winter meetings are going to be frustrating because you're going to see the big teams load up. You're going to see the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers load up on a whole bunch of talent, and everybody else is going to be trying to squeeze out of something out of what's remaining after that.
No, I like the idea of what you're saying though about as far as Ramirez and staying with a team that will be able to benefit from their talent in some place where they've already. I mean, I guess he's really a franchise player there. I don't know how many years he's been with them, but I mean, the thing of it is, you have players, and there's an excitement that comes with them. But the idea of building a team and taking them to the World Series and a team that hadn't been there, like you were saying with the Brewers or others or the Rockies, to me, that's the exciting part of the game. Give it some breath. I think we talked about this last week, and you're saying maybe we got maybe 10 teams that you can focus on as far as championship material at the end of the year. And if that's the case, you want to talk about something that weakens the game. It's not, it's when you can't build excitement about every game and every team because there's just such a large canyon, if you will, between talent between some teams in the league.
Yeah. Jose Ramirez has been with the Guardians for 12 years, and he has 52.4 B WAR so far with them over those 12 years. So you're talking about a guy who's lining up to potentially put himself into the Hall of Fame category.
Yeah.
By the time his career is done, assuming that it finishes off with any strength whatsoever. But he's a special player. But yeah, the things that scare me with that, we were just talking about before with the golden bat is, you think about NASCAR, right? I'm not a NASCAR fan at all, but they have so many ways to make everybody a winner now in NASCAR. And so they split the season in half. They have this, they have that. Oh, you led this many laps. Okay, now you get a trophy for this. Oh, you led this, you did that. So I'm afraid that for baseball, the way that they're going to even it out is by giving people more chances to win instead of just fixing the issue with baseball is that it doesn't have a ceiling and a floor. It needs both, not a luxury tax. People will pay the luxury tax. It doesn't hurt them at all. They're already making $200-300-400 million more that you don't even know about. The luxury tax is a joke. It is really, it's not even effective in the least. The penalties they'll talk about, yeah, okay, some of those hurt a little bit more because you're not able to balance your roster with cheaper players. But to be quite honest, they don't get that many in there anyway. How many of them are the Yankees really bringing up that they're keeping, instead of trading them to the Padres for the guy they really want, which was Juan Soto? At some point in time, we have to get our head around the fact of, okay, what makes the league better as a whole and step up and really realize that baseball needs to be saved by somebody that loves the game and not the large market teams because they are the only ones that are bringing in all the audiences that they're looking for.
Yeah, it's a self-perpetuating. Try again, Mark. It's a self-perpetuating prophecy when you go ahead and let the top ones just run rampant with all the spending that they want to do. Whether you put some kind of luxury tax on them or not, if they're willing to spend the money, it doesn't matter, and it hurts the game. Well, I think that's it, actually. You look at what's going on with these teams, and you have to see that Those that got the money, they're going to continue to build there. There does need to be some sort of frame. There does need to be some sort of bottom or floor and ceiling, as you were saying, to make this a better game for everybody to enjoy, whoever their team is. So I'm on board with you on that, brother.
Yeah. And I think, the league has dangled that in the past, but they always dangle it with some sort of, oh, you have to give us this in return. No, stop that nonsense. You're doing it because it's the right thing for the league, not for the players.
Yeah.
You're doing it because it's the right thing for the league. And you can impose it on the players without the approval of MLBPA. MLBPA want to take that issue to courts, to whatever arbitration process they want to do. That's fine. They'll deal with it after the fact. But the problem with the way they've always presented it is that it's always a bargaining chip. And it shouldn't be. It should be just like it's the right thing to do. All the other leagues are doing it. There's a reason they're doing it. It's so that the Green Bay Packers don't have to trade their star player and he goes to the New York Giants because that they're the only team that can afford it, or to the Dallas Cowboys, or it's just disheartening when you see so many star players, and I hear it from Rays fans all the time. And I know they're not the only team that sees it and that experiences it. But when you're forced to sit there at home before the 2025 season, and you know that your team is going to play on a minor league field, your star player is in jail somewhere in the Dominican Republic or about to be, and your two best pitchers from the last World Series that you played in are playing for the freaking Dodgers. Like, really? Like, just because you couldn't afford it or your owner didn't step up to keep them? Whichever way you want to see it, it just doesn't sit right. It doesn't, it's not the way that it should be. Just like Roy Halladay was with the Blue Jays for as long as he possibly could.
Yep.
And he only jumped ship when he really wanted the ring and he wasn't able to get it in Toronto. That's a different, feel and different look because it's the last 2, 3 years of his career. He got, his playoff appearance and then he got to say he did it and it looked beautiful doing it. That's a different kind of take. But when you're forced to sit there after, out maneuvering a lot of other teams and getting some players on board, and you're actually just getting rid of talent now because you've gotten so much of it that's expensive
Yeah.
that you don't have a choice. And I think the Padres are going through this now. The Giants are even stepping back because of certain things. There's there's just a bad look for the league, I find. I want to see a more balanced league, both in terms of top end talent and in being able to retain star players so that the kids aren't walking around with jerseys that they can't wear anymore because their player that they cheered for is now, halfway across the country or all the way across.
I think we need to encourage all our listeners to write to Rob Manfred and the MLBPA and say, we love baseball. Come on, guys. Here's some ideas you need to deploy. Let's keep this game vital. Let's keep the fans engaged. Let's keep it something everybody can enjoy. Let's not turn it into Savannah Banana Ball. I think Savannah Banana Ball is wonderful. I just don't want to see it with a Major League Baseball team. And right now, that seems where a lot of that is going. So come on, fans, go ahead and take the notes here from what Matt's been talking about, looking for some balance out there, looking at having strengthening teams all across the league and making this a much more exciting game. That's what has to be done to keep this game thriving.
Yep. Another thing I would do, and I think this has legs, is I would merge minor league baseball with NCAA. I think that the minor league attendances just aren't viable long term, and they don't make any sense, and they're never going to make sense. People don't tune in either, even though they've amalgamated the MLB TV packages. And I think that would get a younger audience. Like if the reason you're considering Savannah Banana type rules is because you want to attract a younger crowd and be a little bit more hip and yada yada yada, I get the intent, but the way to do that is by tying into the hype machine that is college sports. That's where the NFL gets it right. They tap into that college nerve and they get the guys out of college, and then the entire nation already knows their name. They know what school they went to. They know, what they're all about because they've been hyped on the national stage by people who know how to do that best. Whereas MLB doesn't know how to do that best at all. And they I think by tying into that NCAA in some way, shape, or form, and I don't even know if it's just playing tournaments or if it's actually having a division that would be purely professional players, something that gets the eyes and the national broadcasts, including minor league baseball.
And there are players out there when they have to go up through a system for 6 years sometimes before they make it to the pros coming out of college. It's difficult. But then you have folks like you see in Florida who came out, Jack Caglianone, and he has just been fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing him come up through the ranks. So, I mean, there is that, Matt. But you're talking about what, actually incorporating the NCAA into the minor league baseball system?
Well, the other way around. Like I want the minor league system to be, and it wouldn't be the whole thing, obviously, but it would probably be to match the level. So if you're talking about somebody out of high school, they don't generally tend to start for the most part on their baseball teams in the colleges, or they have a smaller role, or they're not really seen as the heavyweights. So you could have, let's say, the A+/AA level be as part of the NCAA in terms of a division added. And so you're looking then at just amalgamating, what is it, 2 leagues or 3 that we have? I think there's 3 leagues that are AA.
Yeah.
So, and you would do it regionally, and it wouldn't take much. It's not a tremendous amount of games added. And it would be a benefit to both sides. They get to gauge where they're at. And a lot of times, I just think it would add something and a lot more eyeballs. Like, the Little League World Series, right? Everybody gets hyped about it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then the WBC, everybody gets hyped about it. So even if you added a tournament, I don't know how many games you would want to make it, but you have them playing each other where it would be like the college guys trying to prove that they're better or they've grown better than the guys who are professionals. So it would be a little bit of back and forth. Um, Maybe the A+ level would be best, to be quite honest, because then you're not working with as many college guys that are already amalgamated into the team. I think it has legs, and it would be something that I would support a lot more than the Golden Bat.
Well, yes. Oh, gosh. No, I like it. I mean, the whole idea of finding where people are already attracted with the NCAA players and teams and incorporating that I like that a lot, man.
Mm.
That could work. But gee, Golden Bat crap. Any of y'all heard the intro tonight? We had a little bit about the insanity of what's going on with out in Vegas with John Fisher and how much money he's having to pay to get that team together. Or I should say the stadium out there, what he's going to have to pay them to get things going. It's insane. But I don't know. Maybe we should talk about something else. I was thinking about looking at the Rays and what's happening with the stadium there. It's just been insane. And I guess you may be tired of talking about this. I know I am sometimes, but they got more news out today, Matt, talking about moving the time to vote on some of the bonds that the city of St. Pete tomorrow, Thursday, December 5th. I think they moved up that onto the agenda. So
Yeah,
I'm
that's what
not sure.
Pauline was reporting. So I think you have to take that with two different sides. Is it good or is it bad? Is it because they already know the outcome, or they want to force the issue and get it over with and lock them in now that the Rays have said that it's still active, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's it. I can't go anywhere. I told you I went to the doctor today. One of the first things out of his mouth is, "So what are the Rays moving to Tampa?" It's like, geez, would y'all quit asking me this stuff? Oh gosh, yeah. And I think the St. Pete City Council is trying to make some moves and see what will happen. Will the Rays? We all just want an answer here, people. We're fans. yes, you own the team, and yes, the cities are talking about what they're going to be able to give, but much like that little bit in the front, there's so much that St. Pete is in the county of Pinellas is looking at giving to the Rays organization for this stadium. And at some point, the owners of the Rays had to say, well, yeah, we're going to have to eat some of the costs from the bad weather, the hurricane, and all that come in here. But it's just not been an easy ride. Uh, we'll see. We'll see, brother.
You know what's interesting about it too is that Stu Sternberg also owns a lot of the development stake, right,
Mm-hmm.
in the area. So while all this is going on, the city has to be careful because they know that they still have to get things approved through him or with him to get other projects done, not just this. So the leverage is still in Stu's favor overall because he can sit and block any kind of development if he wants. That can be the hardball, and you could see something like that being used as a chip. I'm sure you're talking about Las Vegas before. How many projects were blocked exactly for that reason, and the A's are feeling it right now because they're being blocked by some people that have, they want their piece, they want their piece of the pie, and they don't feel like they've had enough of that pie yet. So I don't know. To be quite honest, Mark, like we shouldn't be hearing anything about this. And you think back, like when we were younger and we had less white hair, um, we would be sitting in a I don't know diner somewhere reading a newspaper, and you would be reading whatever that reporter had for that day, and more than likely it would be about a tenth of what we're reading and hearing about right now because there just wouldn't be as much shared, and there'd be a lot more tighter lips and a lot less scenarios, shared between people to kind of make, oh, what about this? What about that? Yada, yada, yada. And I think sometimes we super hype things and evaluate them to, you know, down to the micro detail to the point where we make things more sensical than they need to be. So I think there's probably a lot more of this that is normal for business dealings with cities, that it's just a process and they go through it and there's no hard feelings afterwards. They shake hands once it's done, or they shake hands and they part ways, one or the other. And I think it'll just be nice for Rays fans and Tampa area and St. Pete area fans and people and taxpayers to have some closure and to be able to put the trop behind them, put whatever new project is coming up, in front of them and be excited about it instead of always being haunted by, oh, what about this? Are they leaving? Are they staying? Are they paying? Are they not paying? It's just getting to be almost torture.
It is. It's the drama that's built on top of a game that we love, and the part of the pain of it is self-inflicted because we're talking so much about it. But like you said, some of this would just be going on anyway. And what as a kid, you didn't hear about all this stuff. You watched your teams, you looked at the box scores, you saw the trades. That was pretty much it. There was disagreements about some players or owners now and then, but nothing of the magnitude that we've seen given to this whole thing with the Ray Stadium. But part of that's because it's been drawn out, Matt, for so long. And it's become like that little bump in the road that just continues to grow after each time another windstorm comes through. And it's gotten to the point where you can't ignore it anymore. But I still feel like just giving it way too much coverage, just too much 24/7 news cycle type attention to this event. So let's hope they could get it done so we can quit talking about it.
I heard they're going to put a desk up at the Trop site, and they're going to have a PTSD session for all the fans and taxpayers. And it's going to be open until the new stadium is built. You're going to get to go there, get your therapy in, have group meetings. Hi, my name is Mark, and I'm a Raisaholic. I've, I've been talking about the stadium issue for 14 years, and I'm just
You laugh, but I think that could be real. I've been thinking about doing a remote over at Ferg's Bar, which is right across the street from the Trop. Going over there and just sit down and talk with folks and hear their pain and see if we can get through these hard moments together.
It has to be done in the basement of a church, and it has to have a coffee pot at the back with donuts, Mark, or else it's not real.
Oh, well, we'll have to do the a show with the number of steps that you have to do to make amends and get it going. Oh, good Lord, my friend.
Yeah, the recovery plan.
That's it. That's it. Jeez.
We shouldn't make light of this stuff.
No.
Those meetings are very good for a lot of people. I'm just saying it from a Ray's point of view. It would be valid. That's
No,
all.
I know. And the last thing in the world, I'd make joke about that because I think it's the best thing in the world for a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
And I know a lot of people who benefited from that. And so God bless all of them. But geez, Minnie. So Matt, let's talk about something a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I would go back to what you said. I do like the idea is, all about making sure women in baseball are getting their prominence. And I like your idea about having 2 women on each team out there. That would be pretty cool. I keep going through all the different pieces I'm reading, whether I'm looking at Isla Borders and all that she did when she was coming up in the 90s, to looking at like Maggie Meidlinger, who we've had on here a while back, Kelsey Whitmore, who's out there playing ball professionally. And there's a lot of women out there playing baseball professionally. And it's just not in Major League Baseball yet. Right. One story, I probably may have said this before, when I look at, has there been a woman at the major league level? Well, with the integration of the Negro leagues into Major League Baseball, you probably would find the first woman, and somebody contradict me on this, that's fine, Toni Stone. She was brought on to the Indianapolis Clowns, who are part of Major League Baseball. So, yeah, that's something I want to continue to talk about on this show. I've got a few people lined up here in the next couple of weeks to have on, and players, coaches, and maybe even some folks who've been architects of stadiums. So a lot of different shows coming up with that with women. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but the Lightning had Manon Rhéaume, right? She was the goaltender that played with them for a bit, and so she broke the mold in terms of hockey. Now, you're a goaltender; it's a little bit different, but I still think that there are women that you see playing soccer, for instance, where you could see them playing against the men. I don't understand why they need to be separated if they're that good.
Right.
And the same should be true with baseball. Is if they're able to play at a level that outplays somebody else, then put them on the team. I don't see why there's any. It's Major League Baseball is not a men's league. There's nowhere in the name does it say men. So it, in theory, and I would say there's a hockey player called Haley Wickenheiser that played for Canada, and she played in the Finnish professional league, and she's a forward, so she was, I think she was on the wing, but she played with them for 2 or 3 years as a professional in their hockey league, and it wasn't, it wasn't a huge thing over there. She just became one of the members of the team, and she played her career, and then once it was done, it was done. Like, baseball is one of those weird ones where there's so many roles that you could give a woman on a baseball team, and assuming she has a skill set to play that role, then why not? I'm still a little bit confused as to why it hasn't happened yet, because I'll tell you, like, I've seen some of the girls' leagues here in Nova Scotia, of all places, and the girls are just as fierce and just as hard hitting and everything else as the guys are, and at their younger age that I'm seeing here. So I don't think it would take very much for them to be able to get those opportunities. And how much impact do you think the coaching will have on that, where you're seeing women now involved in a lot of the coaching aspects?
Oh, I think it will make a big impact. I mean, I'm thinking of Veronica Alvarez, who we've had on the show she was the manager coach for the USA Women's National Team. She's also working with the A's organization as a coach. You're seeing more and more women coming up through that particular portal. If they're not actually on the field, you're finding women who've been such great powerhouses and training folks, some of them with power development. You're looking at, who is it? Rachel Balkovec, who had been the manager for the Tampa Tarpons for the Yankees. and I think now she's with player development with the Marlins. So you're seeing women coming in more and more places inside the organizations, whether it be coaching or managing or player development. But as far as getting where there's going to have qualified players on the field, whether they be men or women, I don't know when that's going to happen. I mean, we look back. You said, 1952 Major League Baseball Commissioner Ford Frick, he officially banned women from playing baseball. Now, I don't know where I would find that actually in rules and such, but that was what was done way back in the when.
Hmm. I
And
mean, it wouldn't take much for a commissioner to change that. I think what it's going to take, Mark, and I'll be very honest, it's going to take a freak of an athlete, like a Shohei Ohtani style, but on the women's side, obviously, and somebody that can throw 97 miles an hour, or somebody that can have an exit velocity of 110 miles an hour, something that gets people, I say people, that gets the scouting departments excited and says, you know what, we need to have this individual on the team because they are way above, three-quarters of the guys that we have here. I think that's probably what it's going to take. And to be quite honest, if you have, let's say, Hal Steinbrenner wanting to sign this woman to a contract, I don't think it would take much for him to make a couple of phone calls and tell the league, "Yep, we're changing the rules." and she's coming aboard. So I don't. I think it'll be swift when it happens, assuming it does happen, and I do anticipate that it could. Until there's a viable women's league, which is what I think will stop it from happening in other sports like soccer, etc. Until there's a viable baseball league that is professional, played across the country, the opportunity is there for them to join them in, and because there's no real other resource for them to go to. So that's the sad part of that equation, I think. If there was an established professional league, then they would just be the one major star in that league, more than likely. But I think if they reached that level, I think they would so clearly dominate in the 6 or 7 team, league that you're just starting to put together that they might not want to stay there. They might want to be sort of like how, I see it this way. You know how players want to leave Japan and be tested against the very best?
right.
It would be the same kind of deal for women, I think.
Well, we're going to see how it plays, man. I've talked before about there's a lot of good organizations out there, whether it be the all girls baseball and all that they did with their last 3 years with the Classic and 4 teams. Baseball for All is saying that they're going to go ahead and have a women's league by 2026. I'm not sure how that's going to look. They're also looking at and there's going to be a women's professional softball league, and that's going to have some major people like Jenny Finch. There's a lot. I'll find out and give more on that in a future one. But the thing of it is that there's that, plus there's a women's sports network that's going to be starting up here soon. There's a whole lot of different pieces, and I hope and pray for some synchronicity that these organizations are coming together and can strengthen it, because I could see in some cases maybe it's weakened if you've got too many pieces going in different directions when they may have more strength together. So we'll see.
I think that's how the NFL was started, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They had the AFC and the NFC, and then eventually they merged into one league.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's true. So maybe it's good that they can be a little bit more competitive at the beginning, and both of them can be strengthened and find themselves together later on.
You never know.
Uh,
I wonder
that's,
if they'll be in the similar cities. That'll be the big question.
oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I remember the ABA basketball, and we had, was it the Louisville Colonels? I can't remember. It's been so long. I remember before they were absorbed into the NBA, and we had the red, white, and blue basketballs, and
Love it. That's classic.
let's bring some color to the game, people.
Yep.
All righty, brother. You got anything else we'll chat about today?
Uh, just the excitement of the next coming week. So within the next week, you're going to see draft picks get sorted out. So you're going to know where teams are going to be drafting. You're going to have the Rule 5 draft. So there's going to be some talent changing hands. It's not going to be revolutionary, but it also lets you know what your team is thinking about. So using the Rays as an example, they have 3 open spots on their roster right now. If they're not filled by free agents between now and then, and they might pick up 1 or 2 players on the Rule 5. So you get to see more of what they're thinking and what the roster is going to look like. And then you're going to have a lot of money thrown around. Like if you're talking about just Juan Soto, 600 million, like how much money is going to be spent at these winter meetings overall? It's going to be impressive.
Well, I can't wait to see the results, my friend, and looking forward to the 2025 season. And I'll turn down the burner on the stadium stuff because like I said, I'm just tired of it. We'll still address it, but we'll give it just a small little snippet, I think, in the future. So
Yeah, we're going to have the one next excitement, which should be either it's dead or it went through. That's basically it. That's all we're looking at tomorrow, right?
Yep.
So that should be the next week should be the last time we talk about it.
Maybe we'll get Colleen on. I don't know. All right. Well, brother, thanks again. It's been another great week here talking with my good buddy Matt Germain and enjoying all things come to baseball, whether it's women in baseball, whether it's insanity of the winter meetings, whether it's owners who are still trying to figure out how much they can spend on a new stadium. Just seeing the great players that are coming up and trying to strengthen all teams across the league. Come on, everybody. Let's do a baseball kumbaya. All right, man. Thanks again, buddy. We'll get together next week.
Sounds good, Mark. I'll see you then.
Again, well, thank you, Matt, and for being on the show once again. And folks, follow him on Blue Sky. Baseball Biz on Deck is there as well. But Matt's always got plenty to share and great insights. So thanks again, and we'll look forward to talking with you all again real soon. Special thanks to X Take RUX for the music rocking you forward.
Just a reminder, you can find Matt at matgermain.bsky social. That's at mattgermain.bsky.social or Mark at baseballbizondeck.bsky.social. You may also find Baseball Biz on Deck on iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, and at baseballbizondeck.com.